Hey everybody, Nick here. For today's video, we got together with Vaughn and made a tier list for all the mechs in Iron Harvest. Do me a solid like and subscribe below. You can also find me at the social medias listed below. All placements here are final and cannot be argued. That's right, this is the law of the land. Thanks again to Vaughn for playing along, and everybody keep on harvesting, and we'll see you in the next stream, Tuesday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Chicago time. Enjoy the show. I want to see that comic, Cryo Darkness. Alright, so let me zoom in on these. I think these are a little small. Zoom. There we go. See, I forgot. It's Alt Tab. There we go. All right, so we're going to take every mech. We're going to converse about it, and we're going to tier it. The tiers are simple. I'm going to move my head down here, out of the way. I'm going to get rid of this head. This head's got to go. It's fitting, but it's got to go. All right, Vaughn. First mech up is the Addicts. What are your thoughts on the Addicts?
I want to hear your thoughts.
I think, well, first of all, I think if this was the cutest mech tier, it would be S tier for sure.
Okay.
It is so damn cute. Otherwise, I think its use is fine. I don't think it's very useful if you don't have at least two.
Its vet ability sucks.
Its vet ability sucks. Like, I saw, who was that? Silix was playing that game on Coastal or whatever, and it came down. Cereals. And, like, that was the one time where I was like, oh, okay, that could be useful if you're getting attacked in the back. Like, when I was playing that game and my Nako was getting attacked, I was like, that would be a useful thing for the Nako.
Yeah, but like, it's so expensive, for one, and two, the Addicts should probably be invisible anyway.
Like, even when it's shooting?
Well, no. So, what you can do is you tell it to go somewhere, right? It sets up, then you unset it up, and then when an enemy comes in sight, you set it up again. So it's invisible until you see an enemy, and then you deploy it to kill them.
Well, that's dumb. It should, like, you should have the option to, like, make it uninvisible. Like, I want to sneak it. Like, I get it, like, if it's, like, grinding on the enemy. If it's, like, grinding, like, oh, what was that? It couldn't have been an Addicts.
No. What I'm saying is the way you use it is that you have it, you set it up somewhere, right?
Right.
You undeploy it, so it's in its, sort of sneaky mode. And then when an enemy shows up, you press the deploy key, and it pops up and it artilleries them. So you surprise them with it.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it. I thought you were saying. Sorry, go ahead.
My point is that its vet ability is completely fucking pointless because it shouldn't be getting snuck up on anyway.
True. Like I said, if the Nako had it, it'd be perfect. So where are we putting the Addicts? I think it's like a DC tier on it, if I'm being honest.
C tier.
C tier, we can agree on that.
It's literally a triple mortar, so I'm mildly miffed about it. You know?
Oof, we've got
almost exactly the same weapon as a mortar.
Oof, we've got 3 bangers in a row. You ready for this? First up, William Mason.
Okay, so what is broken for?
Broken is for anything that we think is broken.
Broken as in it's so bad you shouldn't use it, or so good you shouldn't use it, or...
Broken is in it's so bad that, like, we couldn't give it a grade. It's like someone turned something in, and we were like, what the fuck is this? This is a blank piece of paper.
Okay, so William belongs in S tier then.
An S tier? I would argue that he's broken because it doesn't cost anything to get his exosuit back.
Yeah, but as a unit in the game, he kicks ass.
He kicks so much ass. I totally agree.
Right. So if we're looking at it from a, should I or shouldn't I use him to win the game, he belongs in S tier. Looking at him from a state of CAG please fix, he belongs in broken.
I would argue the when I first got the expansion and was jumping around with his ability, I was like, oh my god, single player, this is amazing. And then my first response as soon as I jumped into multiplayer and someone used it against me, like, oh my god, this is terrible. That being said, I've used it before.
Okay, Cryo makes a good point though. The turret is busted. But are we basing it on the turret or just on him as his suit?
We could do him in the suit. Him in the suit is fine. The turret is like bleh.
He's arguably, without the turret, he's actually like fine. Like he's actually still a good unit. Like, he's pretty bland, but he's still a good unit.
So do we do the bitchy teacher thing where it's like, you didn't capitalize this word, you get an A for the turret?
So is he broken or is he A tier? Is how I'm going to go with.
I'll put him in A since you and Cryo made a strong argument for him in the exosuit.
Like, he's in the suit, in the picture.
Good argument. He gets an A. Your favorite tier 1 mech, the Salem.
I actually like it. It's just sad that it's broken.
Just when someone told me that, oh, hey, this guy, you can just hit the button over and over again. It'll just reuse the ability. I was like, oh,
Well,
that's
I'm not even sure it works like that. It's just like, I'm pretty sure if you mess, like, because I only tested it once, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it does that.
like, don't get me wrong, he's a good mech, but is he broken?
Let's talk about him as a unit, right? He has higher DPS against almost everything than any other unit of his class. He has a vet ability that is the best vet ability of any unit in his class. He has decent movement speed, being as fast, if not as fast as almost everything, with only, I think, the Schmowley being faster.
He is so fast, like, trying to chase him down, like, you're like, I think I can get him, and then you watch him waddle, and you're like, no, I can't.
For comparison, he's as fast as a Kolokov.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. I mean, still pretty fast, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is literally the same mech, but with a different weapon. And then finally, to cap it off, he has the lowest iron cost of any mech, and the second lowest oil cost.
Does that mean he's cheaper than the Strasnik when you put...
Cheaper than a Strasnik. He's cheaper than an Ognivo. He's cheaper than an Ognivo, except for oil. Like, he's 30 iron cheaper than a Strasnik, and, like, the same oil cost. You mentioned his rear gun does stupid damage for no reason.
If you, let's say you're CAG, which everyone thinks you are because we all hit you up with the questions anyway. Let's say Vaughn is CAG. Are you fixing anything about this little tractor boy right now?
Yes. So there's two choices, really. You know, arguably you need to do both. But he's too cheap, he's too good. Like, he kills too much stuff way too easily. He's way too massable because he's so cheap, and he's worth massing because he does such good damage across the board.
So one or the other, like, you think one or the other has to be like, you need to, if you're going to keep him that strong, make him more expensive?
Yep, and if you're going to make him weaker, then arguably you can keep him up.
So then can we agree on old Salem boy being broken?
He's either S tier or he's broken.
I gave you William. I'm going to put Salem in broken. Next up,
broken.
We don't even have to have the conversation. Gunship, broken. It's let's hear it. I got time. I got nothing but time.
Cheaper than every mech in his, like, he's cheaper than every he's 40 oil cheaper than every single comparable mech across all factions.
Fuck.
Sometimes I think he's like 35 oil cheaper, but he's always a lot cheaper. He's 120 oil while the average is about 150, 160. Right? He's either the same iron cost or 25 iron more, which is 1 tick, so literally 5 seconds, to every comparable mech, so all the other mech destroyers. I classify it as a mech destroyer even though it's just a gunship. It has the same anti-air as a skybike, which was busted and is now garbage. But either way, the fact that it's Predator it has the same weapon as its Predator makes no sense. So that's done. It has 800 medium armor, which is pretty decently tanky. Like, it's tankier than a Mockney, while being 3 air balloons strapped to a fucking boat.
Let me shoot the balloons. Let me shoot the balloons and just take it out. Like, super fast takeout.
And a power shot, it crashes to the ground, becomes an immobile turret.
I would love that. Give me something like that. Give me anything. Anything that you do to it could be better than what it is right now.
Finally, it has the highest DPS of any unit in the game. It has, I think, the highest splash, or tied for the highest splash in the game. And has the longest range. It has the same range as the longest range non-artillery unit. It is a Sky Wotan.
Oh, God.
And it flies.
The number of times I've looked away from a unit and then it was gone, and then I go back over, I was like, oh, that had to be a freaking gunship. Like that last game, like, yeah, I misplayed a whole bunch, but Zubov was gone in like the blink of an eye because of it.
All right, and it reverses at the same speed as it goes forward.
Wait, what? I did not know. I did not know this reverse thing. You're telling me?
Well, it's funny because like the couple of days before release, I said oh, you know that George Mason thing? You're like, yeah, it looks so cool. I'm like, they're gonna spam the shit out of that. And you're like, yeah. And then they
Yeah.
did.
So we can agree gunship is broken and the worst part of the current meta. The next one is probably my new favorite, the airlift. Airlift, I think I would like to see a little more damage come out of it just because it takes so long to like put a notch on anything. But airlift, I'd probably put it C range just because of how spongy it is.
The airlift is only good right now because it can fight the gunship.
That's why it's so
The
godly right now.
And it's the only unit that can fight the gunship.
Only thing that I wish was a little different about it was that the people in the airlift could do something. I get why you can't have AT guns.
These sky zols.
You can't have AT guns in there, or not AT guns, anti-mech cannons firing in there, because then that little canopy is going back and forth like a damn pendulum. But give me something like let the riflemen do rifleman things. Like they're rocking back and forth, and they're just like you see one guy fall out. Like it comes at a cost. Like you have people falling out, but you're getting shots off from the air. I think it's C, but do you think it goes any lower just because it's only useful because of the bullshit?
I think it belongs in D tier because, one, it barely does its job right, and it's only used because it can do something that makes no sense for what it is.
It basically does what the skybike should be doing.
Yes, arguably the Skybike should do way more than the airlift does, but that's a whole nother argument. I would agree with C tier or even B tier if it could carry exosuits and or weapon systems.
And let them fire in it.
That'd be an A tier.
That might go into broken.
Eisenhorn shoots itself down.
What happened to all the Eisenhorns were firing? Oh no. I can agree with D tier just because it's only used right now as fighting off the broken gunship. Up next I have
Watch out the enemy.
yes, the Nox. The Nox. Honestly, when the
living amendment.
first playing against them, like I would see one or two and be like, meh, it's okay. It's fine. But like when they're backing up like a Revere or like they have something with them, they are the scariest damn thing to see.
A pair of them can like alpha strike almost any unit in one shot.
They make me nervous as hell. What is their vet ability? Do they even have one? I don't think I've seen it in the wild.
Their vet ability is that they get hardened frame, which means they
Hard.
20% less damage from the front. So it takes a relatively squishy unit and makes it slightly less squishy, which frankly is kind of boring.
Yeah, I think that's a thing across like the tier 2 Usonia mechs where I'm like, yeah, your vet ability is kind of lame.
I would have liked if its rockets had stayed, if its rockets weren't part of its main barrage, but then it could get its rockets as its vet ability. So it was a primarily anti-mech unit, but then once you get its vet ability, you can also fight infantry very effectively. Maybe tune up the rockets a little too if you're going to do that, or put them on a low cooldown. Oh, so the Nox has a specific anti-air attack.
Right.
It doesn't use its main weapons for anti-air. It's against the gunship it won't stand a chance. In general, air or anti-air, it's decent. Like it's a unique weapon, but it's not a very good unique weapon.
I think across Usonia, like I look at their tier 2 mechs, and I see a bunch of C average students, if I'm being honest.
Do you think it belongs in C?
I think when you have more than one, it's scary, but like just looking at one, but I guess if you're building one, you're building two. So I could see the Nox being like one of the higher ones out of Usonia.
To be fair though, they are, price of a Wotan. They're not unkillable. Their vet ability is very mediocre. And if you're cunning and clever, you can
I'm not.
bait out if you're sweaty, you can bait out an army of Nox's barrages and then kill them.
You know what? Now you mentioned that, I do remember a game where someone was marching a bunch of Nox down to my HQ, and between a Kaiser, an Isegrim, and something else, I was able to take out like 3 or 4 of them. and like send the rest of them running away like a bunch of chickens. Wasn't very cunning of me, but a better player would have completely destroyed that whole flock.
Another point to add is that the Nox has a much lower reverse speed, so it's hard to do sort of hit and run attacks with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't run in, fire everything, run out. Yeah, you have to either show rear armor or you have to waddle backwards.
So I could see him in C or D range then, based off your argument.
A little thing for him though, it does have a constant 8 MG, which is pretty decent against infantry, which is a big bonus for him.
What are you thinking?
And then of course I'm thinking C tier.
C tier. Up next is Tony Stark. Tony Stark, the Stark. I think I see a Stark and I laugh, because at that point in the game I'm like, man, what are you doing? I got my Brunhilde, I've got my Zubov, I got whatever. We're like 10 minutes into the game. What are you doing with this guy? He seems so slow. Someone's only used him against me once, and it was Risky Boy. And I had a Kaiser, and he was taking on a Kaiser with it, but I had a Votan kiting him from the side. So he was gone in a second, but also his vet ability.
All those units you just listed, the Stark will beat.
I know, but like it's another one of those ones where it's like, man, I'm sure this sounded cool on paper, but like
I don't think he has a vet ability.
Or not his whatever his ability is, where he shuts down and like gains health back.
I actually really like that, but it's kind of useless.
Yeah, just because by the time you're using it, you're like, I think, and he's gone. He's gone.
He's probably half dead by that point. The point to take though there is that he does gain XP from that.
I did not know that. That's why you're here. What what instances are you using him in?
He's just a line breaker.
Gotcha.
You send him in ahead of everything else, and he kicks ass.
Line breaker, the ability,
so
it's there, but it's like meh.
The Serp and the Stark are literally the same unit, but the Stark is better.
On the health front or the ability? Because yeah, Serp's ability is...
The Serp has basically no ability.
Yeah, because it's an infantry like ability, but by that point, like, who's using infantry?
It doesn't even buff the infantry either. It just makes them not so
Cool ability, dude.
Cool ability, dude. Go back to primary school. Meanwhile, the Stark can heal itself. It gains damage the more damage it takes. It's medium armor, which arguably in the late game is better. He takes less damage from field cannons. He's got a really strong flamethrower that can like one-shot field cannons.
Oh, I completely forgot about his flamethrower. I fell back in love with him when you brought up the flamethrower.
Finally, he's very cheap. Comparatively to a Serp, he is a lot cheaper. And considering he is better...
Is he their specialty mech? Air quotes.
He's their unique mech.
They're unique. Unique.
So the unique mech is the Juve, the Stief, the Serp, and the Stark. I've just realized 3 out of the 4 unique mechs have S in it. Have S at the start of their names.
Well, now we know what the unique mech is for the next faction whenever it happens. It'll start with an S, folks. It'll be a snake. So Stark, I mean, when you said flamethrower, you've really sold me on his ability being better than the Serp. I don't see him being used that much. But then again, when I'm seeing Usonia, I'm seeing people like spamming other things. So yeah, gunships and Salems. From your argument and me thinking of like better days when like Usonia isn't as broken as it is with like the current meta, I could see Stark being like a B.
Yeah, I was gonna say B too.
All right, B.
Admittedly, if melee was better, and there weren't other bust stuff, the Stark would be overpowered.
100% agree.
The Serp would be wildly underpowered.
Okay, we got 3 super heavies coming up. Kaiser first. Kaiser time, baby.
S tier.
S tier?
Kaiser, man.
It's the Kaiser. I agree 100% when I'm going Saxony. Like as soon as Brunhilde's out, I'm like, okay, we need to go get Papa Kaiser when I'm not goofing around and trying to get Nizagrim.
The way I think about these lists is S tier means you see it, and then A tier is there's a few of them. So I think a Kaiser, if a Saxony is given the choice, they will build a Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
So S tier all the way. There's maybe Some bias here because I play Saxony a bit.
Just a little bit.
But
Just a little bit.
a little bit.
And I used to like Saxony used to be my go-to all the time, and then I got tired of. Well, I don't lose to Saxony, but that's for another time.
I don't lose. What are you talking about?
Next up is the Ghoulier Gorod. First of all, F tier for the name.
Why?
Ghoulier Gorod. Is there a translation?
Ghoulier Gorod.
Is there a translation?
Fortress City.
Oh shit! Well, you know what? Then it's an A tier for that name.
I think it means Fortress City or like Palisade or like some sort of fortification.
Well, then I like the name better. My ignorant ways. I was wrong. I'm sorry.
As far as Super Heavy goes, it's the second tankiest with 1750 HP, so 250 less than a Kaiser, but 50 more than a Tur.
I like his ability. I like his little rockets.
It has super good. I really like his ability. I think the Devastator missile is amazing. Not as good, arguably, as the Tur. Like so the Tur is sort of like, you know, you whip out a Nox. You know, like have you ever seen? I think it's the Mask has like the guy where he pulls out like 100 different guns. So that's the Kaiser's ability. Well, the Ghoulier is sort of like, you know, you see this sort of little kid walking down the street and then they pull a Barrett 50 cal out of their backpack.
Oh no.
If anyone doesn't know, it's a big sniper rifle. Arguably, the Kaiser has a superior ability. God, it was funny listening to people argue that the Kaiser's ability sucked. I was like, you people, you fucking noobs.
People just confuse me with it. They're like, why? Why not? And I'm like, oh no, which way should I go with this? Now, Ghoulier, and Cry of Darkness confirmed, it is Moving Fortress. I would say if it's not S, it's A. Just because he's the number 2 super heavy. I was moving it. You said A, and I was in agreement. Unless you think it should go up to S.
I wasn't done.
Go ahead.
Finally, the Ghoulier has the highest DPS of all super heavies. Oh, and it's the fastest. Sorry.
It is so fast. It is so fast. That game I was playing, that second game I was playing, like I look back to see, like, oh, he can't be here anytime. Oh shit, he's here.
So, fun fact: the Ghoulier is actually one of my favorite mechs. Arguably more so than the Kaiser for some reason. I think it's Revere Revolution. When I built like 6 of them, I just fell in love with them.
They're so scary.
The super heavies, all the super heavies make me happy.
Just based on the speed and the DPS alone, like I think I'd feel comfortable moving it up to S. I know you're worried about introducing your bias. You bias little koala.
I'm voting S tier for Ghoulier. Now,
okay.
I'm not saying that the Saxony move to Revere players that we are biased. But that's a B.
I agree. Now, if this was the Tur from like late 2020, I'd be like, oh, this is S Tur. This is S Tur. S Tur. But yeah, I agree with B, just because he's not scary. It's not scary anymore.
So he's the most expensive super heavy. He's got, not including oil costs because the fucking Samson exists. But he's like one of the most expensive. He's the most expensive iron. He's the second highest oil. He's got the lowest HP. Samson's not a super heavy, you know? Fuck it, they don't exist. Samson doesn't exist. He's got the, I think, middling. Made the
Tur into a turd.
I think he's got more DPS than a Kaiser, but less than a Ghoulier, so... he has the lowest vet requirements, so veteran Turs are more common. But it's not that much lower, it's like 1,000 or something, and super heavies rack up XP like madmen. And finally, his vet ability sucks.
It's just there.
I missed a point, and he's stupidly inaccurate. Like, it misses so much.
I just know that when I see it, like when I was playing Doge the other day and I saw a Tur, and this wasn't like Doge was a great player, but I saw a Tur and I was like, oh, there's a Tur. And I would be like that with anybody, like you, Doge, Cry Darkness, anybody. I'd be like, oh, it's a Tur. Okay, we got that. We'll be fine. Like I see a Kaiser and a Ghoulier and I'm like, oh shit, that's a Kaiser. Oh shit, that's a Ghoulier. I see a Tur. Yeah, it's there.
For the most expensive, yeah, makes no sense. Oh, sorry, I missed the point. And it comes out of the most expensive Advanced Workshop.
You got your notes ready. I can hear the pages turning over there.
There is no paper.
There is no paper.
It's memory.
Up next, and I don't know if Rainwolf is here, but
Sorry, did we say B? you say B?
Yeah, we said B. B for the tur. Up next is the Machni. You think of B?
D.
D. All right, let's hear the notes on this one.
Why? No. You give me your notes on why it's a D.
I didn't say B. I thought you said B. I was gonna say C because it's got its useful, like, if it's being attacked by infantry, it can kind of hold them off a little bit with its gun. It's upright position. It's medium armor. It's upright position. The fact that if George is out and you build a few Machnis, you're gonna be okay. And yeah, I think that's why it'd be a C. Otherwise, it's my least favorite artillery mech.
When did you last play Polania and think to yourself, I need a Machni, and there wasn't a George on the field?
Not very often. Maybe if I'm doing Mikhail and then putting the Machni in my reserve too.
When did you last want to win and got a Machni and there wasn't a George on the field?
Never.
Okay, so
Yay, Nick said I'm a competent player. Doge, you know you are. You don't need my validation, Doge. You love the Machnis?
I love them, but they're so terrible.
When did they nerf them? Was that like December?
Okay. Do you remember the old Machni range when it was undeployed?
Yes. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was...
It was 50. It was 50. So it was more than a Wotan. It was 5 more than... If it still had that, I would agree with C. But it's got a range of 40, which almost everything has, so it doesn't outrange anything. It's got very low HP. It's pretty cheap, but like it's still out of the most expensive Advanced Workshop. It's extremely slow. It turns very slowly. Its sidearm is rubbish, as in the LMG on the side.
It's there, but yeah, it's not like turning any heads.
Its deploy is extremely slow. It doesn't add much with its deploy.
Is it only tier 2 because it's medium armor?
I think it's just tier 2 because they wanted to put artillery in tier 2.
Gotcha.
Because the Olkenig is tier 2 and it's light armor. And now I was going to say good things. So, do you want to say your part? Or shall
I was gonna say there's still part of me that thinks Machnis is a tier 1 mech for Polania.
I mean, it was for a while.
Was it?
It got moved.
Maybe.
I think it was tier 1 in like early alphas.
Maybe. Yeah, I wasn't there till beta. So, man.
Yeah, neither was I. I've just seen pictures.
Man.
Like, did you know the exosuits used to come in squads of 1?
I did not know that. That sounds pretty cool though.
One Eisenhans.
One
Used to be in
Eisenhans.
the workshop.
I didn't know that either.
Used to be in yeah.
So what good
And of
things?
course the weapon systems have been shuffled around.
What good things were you gonna say about Machni?
So it's got that strong mech-to-mech damage. It's got an artillery mode to switch to use longer range and to be able to do artillery and mech-to-mech. It's got reasonable speed. It's got reasonable damage across the board. Its vet ability is very situational and could be very useful. So it's got 2 vet abilities. When it's undeployed, so wandering about, it does a smoke very similar to the Isengrim. That is decently useful, but generally only useful for, oh god, please save my Machni. Because who on earth has a Machni at the front to provide smoke? The second ability is it drops a canister shell of smoke, which is when it's deployed. Sorry, I should have said that. Which creates a little circle of smoke. Now, if smoke worked as a sight blocker, it would be great. But the problem is smoke works by if unit is in smoke, it's invisible. So you would, and even then, that's not always what happens. So you can drop smoke onto a Lofser, say, and it should become stealthed. If you drop smoke between the enemy and the Lofser, it won't be stealthed.
Yeah, that's really dumb.
So logically, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, they should not be they can still fire, but like it knocks down that accuracy. Like the shot goes off and hits like Vaughn in the head somewhere.
Yeah, the reason it's like that is because the game has true sight. It doesn't have any form of like vision blockers.
I could get down with D, but then you'll have to explain it to Rainwolf.
Such a cool mech though.
It's very cool. I agree. It's just not the Machni it used to be. Does it really?
Yeah. There's a voice line along the lines of, "Oh, thank God I'm not an infantryman. I'm sitting in my leather seat or something."
Well, I don't deploy them enough to hear that, but now I want to hear it.
Machnis.
More Machnis. I always build a
So it's up
Machine
to you, C or
whenever
D.
because Schmilies are boring. Schmilies are boring. I'll put it in D. I'll put it in D. Next up is
These aren't boring. They're just we built them so people are spamming them so much that people have turned off them.
it's irritating. One of my personal favorites. I'm still holding out for the return of Anna Double Straz, the Straznik.
Look, I'm not saying that your opinion is trash. But you did just say your favorite mech is the trash.
One of my favorite. It's the trash can. Now I will say that it's kind of diminished because Salem's kind of came in and took its thunder and kind of did what they were already doing better. But back during Anna Double Straz, there was nothing scarier than seeing the Anna Double Straz running up on you. Oh my god. Oh, and people bitched about it, and I loved it.
The strength of the Straz back then was its situational timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it came out so fast, and there was so little you could do about it.
Yeah, even with an AT gun, like the other one could like run, like they could run around you.
You can just run around them, yeah. And also because infantry was so much more back then, they were even deadlier. Because you would have 5 squads of fighting troops at that point.
Yeah,
so,
it's very
they
situational
not
now.
Not only were they loosed into a target-rich environment that they were very good against, but they also came out when there was nothing else to stop them.
Right.
Though I do think gunners were in T1 back then, so people were just lazy.
Oh yeah, they were. I'd say it's very situational. So like if I'm playing Polania and someone's like Rushviet, and I know they're gonna go in on the I almost call them stormtroopers, the vanguards, I'm thinking about getting a Straznik out. I'd put it in like the C or the D range, honestly. Like I love its ability. It's a good ability. But yeah.
I'm gonna say B.
B.
It fires on the moon.
Does it fire?
Trash can.
Does it fire on retreat?
No.
No, okay.
Straz, I wanna say B. Like, not only is it the classic, you know. Okay, as a unit, not counting situation, like not counting how long it takes to get out or whatever, or what it comes into. As a unit, it's very good against infantry. B or C.
And I honestly said C or D to see where you would go because I wanted in my heart for it to be a B. I mean, it serves its purpose. It serves its purpose. I could see it being a B because it serves its purpose. If the enemy's going heavy on infantry, you can put it out. Like you might have better options, but like it serves its purpose. And like yeah, it's not going to beat any other mech, but it's there to weed out the annoying infantry.
My clip of a Straznik beating the whack.
So
that was such a beautiful one.
Be okay. Be okay.
Will we be okay? Well, I love how it's in B or C because it's belongs in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, B. Yeah, I'll go with B.
All right, who's got a banana? It's monkey time. Ooh. I don't really, honestly, have an opinion about Lek. He's not the monkey he used to be.
But that's because of air. He hasn't changed.
It is fun. It is fun sending him out to get just about everything. Like he does not care. He will charge anything.
And I'm pretty sure he is like the best duelist in the game. As in, he'll beat anything one-on-one.
Like the only thing he struggles against are his own mechs, right? Polania's like probably got the best in air units, but yeah, Polania's got the best counter against him. He's his own worst enemy.
He's fighting against his own people. That's when he gets trouble. Like back when Lek was like the thing that people complained about. I launched up the stream, got in a game, it was immediately a Lek, and then I killed him with a single call. And I was like, what are you complaining about?
Doesn't that's like the most amazing feeling. Like when I played Rouge Fiat for the first time the other day, and like the thing right now is like, oh, why would you play like why Rouge Fiat? Blah, 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 blah. And when I played him and was handling myself pretty well, and even tonight's games, I'm like, what are people complaining about? This is pretty fun. I'd say he's still really good.
Let's just do a countdown and say our suggestions at the same time.
Okay. 3, 2,
2,
1. B. Hey!
That was easy.
There we go. I mean, he does really good. All right, time to put a schmally on that face.
Broken.
Broken from the. It's too
80.
cheap. It's too powerful.
So its main strength is its speed and its range. It's got decent range, decent damage, arguably too much. It's got decent health, and it's the fastest mech in the game. That's what makes it good.
I would say A range. I want to put it in F because it's so freaking annoying.
I would say it's a very good unit, but I would argue it's even an S tier.
And it's very good against air, isn't it? Uh-oh. Rain Wolf.
Well, it is 70. So it does 70 damage to medium armor. So it does chunk a bit. I guess you could say it's good against air, yeah. Because it's decent range, it's fast, it's got a decent anti-medium and light armor, which is all air units are.
I'd put him.
I'd agree it's good against air units.
I'd put him in S then, just because he's just so.
S tier or broken. That's where people would argue.
I would, yeah, just so damn versatile. And he's a tier 1 mech. Goddamn. We'll move on to everyone's favorite egg, the Lopsa, the Loca.
Lopsa.
I've heard it both ways. My issue with the Lopsa is its range.
I'd mix that in with its speed, yeah.
It's just so, like, I love the spear. The spear is probably one of my favorite abilities in the game. Like, when you, first of all, well, it takes forever to get it, but when you get it and, like, you're close enough to use it and you know that, like, oh, the spear is going to be the killing blow, that is a great damn feeling.
Did you watch that game between, I think it was Saturas and Iobi? And Lek was all the rage, right? And Saturas had Anna, and he built a Lofsa, and the Lofsa came out, and the Lofsa kept, fighting with Lek and just barely pushed it away. And then once the Lofsa vetted, he kept fighting Lek until Lek got like half health, and then he just harpooned him. And Lek got killed like 4 times that game. Like, Lek was the crux of Iobi's strategy, and he was dead half the game. It was gorgeous.
I'd say the Lopsa is the worst mech hunter of the. Well, I guess there's 4 now. I guess the Nox is in that argument, but I'd say the Lopsa is the worst.
I think the Lofsa is that bad.
I just think the range is just.
Lofsa beats in the gun face to face because it's got higher damage. Where do you think it belongs?
Well, looking at how often it's built, because I mean you really only see a Lopsa if someone's goofing or memeing on you, or if it's like backing up a tur or something. You are the exception to the rule. I don't see it often, and just the speed and the range, it's just so bleh. It's bleh. But if I were gonna put it anywhere, I'd honestly probably put it either in C or D range.
I would agree with D or C. So, how are we gonna tiebreak at this?
I could see it being C, because the spear is just so like once you have it, it's so fun just to like sneak up on someone with it.
I think it belongs in D though. Like, because I see them about as often as I see.
Yeah, like you're seeing
always build Zols or Turs.
Yeah, you're not seeing them nearly enough for them to be impactful. So I'd agree on your D. I see your D, and I raise you a D.
It's got a very cool name. It's called Hunter, which I do very much like, but I don't think that moves it. Luckily enough, though, the Lofsa Mockney is actually like my preferred build for Polania.
Lofsa Mockney, eh?
Like, I like using them together.
The man argues nobody built them, and then he comes back with the I build them. Damn it, they're mine.
Well, you said I'm the exception.
You are the exception. Next up is everybody's special, or I'm sorry, unique mech, is the Zubov. Vaughn, I'm gonna ask a serious question. Is the Zubov broken? What's that whole thing about firing speed I keep hearing about?
The Zol, when it like uses its vet ability, right? The unit inside gains a fire rate increase. And while I don't know if it applies to all infantry. I know it applies to riflemen to too much of a degree. Then again, I haven't seen a rifle Zol deploy in ages.
It's been a minute. It has been a hot minute.
Everyone builds gunships instead. So. But I believe the complaint was that they fired too much, and they most definitely did. While that was broken, the Zol as a unit, and besides that particular instance, is easily probably like B tier, maybe A tier.
Zubov, I would yeah, I mean you still see it being used a lot, not nearly as much as it used to. It's good at what it does, distracting. No back damage is big.
Thank goodness they don't get spammed anymore.
Yeah, those used to be annoying. Remember double? Could you do double Zubov back in the day?
Yeah.
Oof.
Back in the day, you could go Lecter Zol.
I would argue it for B just because it's not used nearly as much. Well, and also just how useless it is if there's like nobody in there.
Yeah, it does have a very high pop requirement.
So I would argue B.
Now we move on to the big man himself. So big he doesn't even fit in the frame.
King Art's better take notes. Oh my God, is it Georgie? It's Georgie.
It's George Mason, the Admiral, Queen Langley, the most overpowered unit we've ever seen until it got nerfed.
Oh, it was nasty, but it's been nerfed. I think an A, just because once George comes out, you really have to like kind of focus on getting him taken care of.
Yeah, but there's also like pretty strong anti-Georges out there. Like the Wotan, the Mosny. Risviet struggle admittedly. I think the Narco can sort of do it. Negan I think can face fight it, but that's I've never done it myself. And of course Usonia can build Reveres. So like he's counterable and can be countered pretty damn hard, but like he's basically a super heavy.
He's medium armor though, right? He's not heavy armor.
Correct. He's medium armor.
That's super weird that I guess he is an airship, so like I can see the thought process on that. What is the point of his smoke? Like what is his smoke hiding? Is there anything you'd have with him that you're like, oh, we need to hide this. We can't have him see it.
I've seen 2 knocks. I've seen Ward. Hell, I did it against Bobby once with 3 Starks.
I could see him being an A.
I would agree with A.
I love that the family is in A right now together.
Yeah, well, it's almost like they're overpowered. Anything above B is overperforming as far as I'm concerned. Except my super heavies. Don't touch my super heavies.
Don't touch the soups. Up next, the Revere. I would argue the most spammed unit after Salem. And Schmally. I do love using his ability to just crash into things, like into other airships. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of
you can't.
It doesn't do damage, but just like running into bumping other things.
You say that just from that meme game we had, where I was like, yay! Just charged the fucking Revere into your base.
But I guess its ability is good to like get out of there if you're trying to cut someone off and kill some retreating units, but.
You've never jumped 3 Reveres onto an army and just been like, surprise, then you haven't lived.
I've done it in campaign.
Its air-to-air is the best air-to-air in the game. So that's a big tick. It's air-to-ground. What's your opinion?
I mean, I think they're good. I think they're a little squishy. But when I see like 2 or 3 grouped up, my butt clenches. I'm like, oh no, we gotta win this. So I would argue that it's in the A or B range.
I want to say B, because I feel like it doesn't scale well into the later game, like units higher than it does.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
Plus the Schmally kicks its ass.
Does it help? Yeah, because I'm trying to think of it like supporting other air units, but anytime I've seen anyone use it, they're just like, oh, I'm just going to build like 20,000 Revere. No need for the other air units at that point.
Building other air units, they're gunships or George. And then you're only building the air units to defend against other air units, which you shouldn't be needing to, because the only other air units that can compete are the Revere.
I could see it being B. Up next, a hero that is like worked his way into my heart recently. Number one on the field and in my heart, Zubov. It's so much fun butt stomping things. Like one of the first clips I ever watched one of my first Twitch experiences was that Troy do the butt stomp on Gunther with it. I still prefer Brunhilde over him.
I would put him.
I would put him
in
A or B?
I would have said B or C.
What are you knocking the Zub for?
He's very squishy.
Very.
He's got heavy armor, so he dies pretty hard to field cannons. His jump is fairly easily dodged if you have a brain cell.
I don't.
His cannons just misbehave. If the cannons were more reliable, I would definitely put him in B or A. But like, they're just like, oh, they occasionally work. Just the way melee works in the game sort of draws away too. Like the amount of times I look back and he's just waddling towards the target rather than fucking attacking him.
Setting him loose on a node, though, feels so good.
Say that until you check back and he's been waddling towards it for 30 seconds and not actually attacked the node yet.
But it feels so good.
Lucky. I'd never see it happen for you.
But it feels so good.
Plus he loses to the monkey one-on-one.
Oh, he doesn't. Well, not in the campaign. Well,
yeah, that's because he had a Negan.
He had a Negan helping him. That's right. Spoilers for the campaign if you haven't played it yet.
How about B tier?
I'd also argue B, because if you are playing Revere, I'd say 7 times out of 10 you're going Zubov.
I would never put him in the same tier as William or George.
I can get with B. I'm down with B.
What is this curve?
What is this curve? Next up is the Nako. Nako's vet ability, arguably one of the best, but has it lost its usefulness with air units?
So its vet ability can hit air units.
Okay, never mind then. There we go.
Its regular attack doesn't, fair enough.
Now I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to vet them up, but I'd argue that I just vetted 3 up in one game.
Yeah, they are very easy to vet. Where would you put it?
I would put it, because if someone's throwing Brunhilde at you, they're pretty good. I mean, they're pretty good, and they're pretty but it's also situational. I feel like very situational.
What situation?
I think it honestly comes down to the map, but also I just remember the days.
What's the map you wouldn't build a Nako on?
Hold on, I have an answer for this. The one new desert one I play on is probably my favorite one to play the Nako. I'd argue
a map you wouldn't build it on.
I know, but I'd argue oil spill just because it's so wide open.
I would disagree. I think the Nako's just as good there as it is other maps.
But also it depends if I'm playing drop zone too. If it's dominance, then yes, I could see its use for the middle VP or the natural VP. But
I think you will see in any good Revere game, you will see a Nako.
I agree with that statement.
I think the Nako is the strongest mech in the Revere lineup.
I think the fact that it's tier 1 also helps its case too.
And I think they belong in S tier.
Because you can go so long. Honestly, Rushviet's the one faction where I can sit there and be like, oh, I don't need to upgrade my workshop yet. The cold.
Stairs at Salem's.
My Colas will do their best, damn it. You're saying S tier.
I'm saying S tier. I'm putting my foot down and I'm saying S tier.
Okay. All right, S tier.
That was way too easy.
I'm not gonna die on that hill against the Nako, because I was gonna put it down to A.
You will die on that hill. The Nako's gonna fuck you up.
Because you're standing on a hill with the Nako aiming at you, you moron. Kolokol. This one's gonna be tough. I feel like it's not S tier, but setting one out to go destroy a node, it just does it so fast. But it also
that's arguably its most broken trait. If it didn't have that, no one would have a complaints about. Well, arguably its heavy armor damage is too much as well. It probably belongs in broken for its heavy and its structure damage, but everything else is good.
I still get, besides destroying nodes and harassing infantry units here and there, I still get confused on its uses.
T1 all-rounder. It doesn't really have a role. It's just sort of an early mech to fight enemy.
To fight just about anything. I could see it in A or B.
I'm voting for A because almost all Russians built them.
Wait, I'm seeing a precedent here. I'm seeing broken stuff go up to A. Are they cheating their way to an A?
On that point, we're seeing Salem heading straight for S2.
I could see Kolokol in A though, just because
I think the Kolokol is better than everything in B.
because you see it just in so many different situations.
Yeah, and it's pretty cheap.
Super cheap, like dollar store mech cheap. But it's like that thing at the dollar store that you buy that you're using over and over again. You're like, man, I only got this shit for $1. What?
It's like your tech mechs or whatever.
My tech deck. It's in the desk. I will not play with it while we're doing this though. A mech that you've been twiddling around with lately. Your Christmas Ognevo.
Oh yeah, broken.
Like broken as in it needs a reset, or is it because it's slow?
Sorry, my mic's cutting off, but I'm laughing my head off right now.
I think it's F tier.
What?
I think it's F tier.
Okay, convince me. Convince me.
When is anyone using an Ognevo and not like just fucking around with the numbers? You just booted up the game. You cheeky.
Did I remind you? Here's the Grim versus Ognevo.
I forgot about that.
You remember that game? That game?
I forgot about that. That was 20 years ago. So why do you think it's broken?
I don't think it's broken.
Okay, so where are you arguing for it then?
I think it's C.
C. It's just so so slow. It's so slow.
Super strong. It kills so hard. Its vet ability is very good. It's extremely cheap. It has really bad timings because of its long workshop time, and it's slow. It's medium armor during a time when almost everything is light armor, so it is relatively unaffected by infantry. It dabs on crew weapons.
Dabs on crew weapons.
It dabs on them so hard.
Infantry like butter. The main problem is too slow and simple fillet of having flamethrowers. I'm hearing, Vaughn, is the better Ognevo is the Stark.
Yeah, well, the Stark's flamethrower is dumb, but you know.
So you're thinking C tier
so
for it.
You're not sold on C? You're not sold on C?
I could see it being D just because I
can settle for D.
So it'll go D. I remember for like a week or two there was the Olga Ognevo cheese.
Yeah, that was just a timing thing.
Ognevo to the D. Next up, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited about this one. The Negan.
Where does it sit?
It is so on the Mech Hunter side, that and the Votan are going back and forth for me on the favorite side. It's not better than the Votan though. Negan does vet up so damn fast.
It's infantry as well. It's got the best anti-infantry of the Mech Hunters.
Is it the other rocket? I forget the name of its ability, but
volley attack. It just fires all its guns at once.
I would either put it at A or B.
Really?
You think an S?
I was thinking C.
You were thinking C. Let's hear your thought process.
It's so mediocre.
Mediocre, like its timing, or like it's.
It's slow for one.
I can agree.
It's got pretty medium range, not that great. Its vet timing's great. Its cost is not that great. Like it's almost the same as the Wotan. Like, in my mind, a Wotan is so much more expensive than a Negan, but it's not. A Negan will get bullied by a lot of longer range things. It's stupendously inaccurate, which is probably my main dislike. I hate inaccurate units. Like, I love the Negan. I love it. I love using it. But when it misses 4 shots in a fucking row...
It is pretty aggravating.
Just touch it down.
Its range is also kind of meh. But that's kind of the thing with Rouge Fiat. They're like, we'll give up the range if we look really cool and meaty.
And its vet ability is very good, but boring.
Fire all 4 guns, damn it! Go.
Wow, we used our main gun. How interesting. That's Nox levels of boring.
And its backwards waddle is just kind of weird looking. I'm knocking it for that.
Yeah, you're noxing it.
Noxing it for that. You know what? You've made a good argument. I could live with it being a C-Mech. Samsung. I'd say, well, it's
Samsung, yeah.
Samsung. The Samsung Note 5 explodes. No. Samson, it's the worst super heavy. It's barely even a super heavy.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say it's the worst super heavy.
Mm,
It's a close fourth with the Tur.
I'd say it's arguably as good, if not better, than the Tur.
And its vet ability is so disappointing. When I was first using its vet ability,
You know that's not a vet ability, right? That's just its.
oh, it's regular ability. Jesus,
It doesn't even
doesn't
have
have
a
a vet
vet
ability. So its regular ability, when I was using it at first, I thought I was building more. I didn't realize I was rebuilding the little guys.
And it costs money.
Yeah, and we
Right.
live in a world. We live in a world where William's exosuit rebuilding costs nothing, but rebuilding your little droids costs money. It's slow. It's super slow, but I guess it is a super heavy, medium armor.
It does fly.
It does fly. I'll give it that.
I would say C tier.
And yeah, I would say it's pretty damn spongy too. Like not good. Like it's
1600 isn't that squishy.
it's squish, it's squish, it's squish.
I mean, to be fair, the transport has 1300, the same armor type, so whatever.
Are we in agreement?
The
C.
Samson is also, I would say C, especially for the fact that you can dodge its attacks by moving. If you have a reasonable amount of DPS, you can just shoot down all its drones.
It's the Sky Steve.
Shoot Steve.
Shit, Steve. C range.
Steve.
Brunhilde, I don't think we have to have too much of a conversation. I'd say Brunhilde straight up to S tier plus. S tier plus. What do you
I
say?
want to say A.
You want to say? Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
I mean, she's not as good as a Narco or a Schmally or a Kaiser or a Ghoulier.
She's a better George though.
Is she a better George, though?
I feel like she's a better George. You probably got the numbers to prove me wrong though.
Okay, I think she's a George, but looks like she's tankier. She's heavy armor, which sometimes works against her. She's got those side cannons, which are great. She's got really good DPS because of that. She's got pretty low range. She's very, very slow. She's got a decent cannon. So, like,
Sexy.
I don't know.
It sounds like an
I
S
think
mech.
She's basically a George. I think she's basically a George.
I think her cannon's more useful than George's flamethrower. You know what? Let me take
What,
that.
you mean
Let
her
me.
more-
You know what? Let me take that back because they're basically serving the same function. They're weeding out all the infantry.
I'd say George is a way better pushing mech. If you want to push, and you have George leading the charge, you're gonna push, or everything's gonna die. If you have Brunhilde as part of the push, she's gonna snipe one field cannon and then take 2 minutes to get to the front, while everything else is already fighting.
But looking at Saxony, I mean, you're wanting a turtle by the time close to the time Brunhilde comes out, unless you're like really like pile driving your opponent.
Not necessarily, because you might need to use her to take back the territory needed to start turtling.
Very true. I could settle for A. As long as she doesn't dip beneath an A, I can settle for that.
I would say an A. I think she's better than everything below that, but I don't think she's better than the things above her.
Brunhilde gets an A. Prince. I say Prince is an F. Prince has been an
I
F
was gonna say
student.
D.
Prince has been an F student all his life. When they gave him lay waste, it was amazing for like the 2 weeks that they let him out into the wild laying waste. And then
It still wasn't that good.
it was so
It's just
fun.
no one knew how to deal with him.
It was just so much fun. Just, they're running at me with infantry. No more Saxony blood. No more Saxony blood.
I think he's a D. Like, his Burt is eh. His rockets are pretty good. He's decently tanky. His special ability sucks. It's like so shit. No one actually knows how it works. Well, but most people don't. He takes
Vaughn again.
forever to fucking set up.
Vaughn again is the exception there.
Takes forever to fucking set up. God, his voice lines are so annoying.
I
would settle for D or F. I think I see more Wilhelm than I see Ognivos.
I've seen him a lot, but every time I see him, I kind of roll my eyes and go, "Oh, I'm gonna win this."
But do you roll your eyes when you see an Ognivo?
I never see an Ognivo unless I'm playing you.
Yeah, and they fucking worked, didn't they?
I personally think Prince is an F.
You just want to put something in the F tier.
I do. It's empty. I can't have it be empty. I need somebody to get. We need somebody to
Will
drive.
go in F.
We need somebody.
Skyblock's going in F.
We need somebody to get this curve down. Damn it.
So, Firebrand, his special ability is that if you're within, I think, 6 units of him, you will not become suppressed. I think it's 6, I don't remember the exact number, it might be 8. Either way, it's a very small range, so anything near him can't be suppressed.
Which is the dumbest thing.
It's not that useful. Like, it doesn't do much. Like,
Mhm.
nothing's getting suppressed by that point. Things are just dying.
Yeah, and what's hanging out by the Prince? Who's hanging out by the Prince? Who's hiding behind him?
The engineers who are desperately
Damn.
putting it back together.
We're building. Use your ability, damn it. I still say he's F. I know you don't want to call his parents. I know his father passed, but we have to call his parents.
For
He's
the
got an F.
sake of Bobby, I think it belongs in D.
For Bobby's sake.
Bobby would never allow it to go into F. Bobby would be cheering for C right now. He'd be cheering for S, but that's not the point. I think in memory of Bobby, may he rest in peace.
May he rest
He's
in
not
peace.
dead, by the way. His PC just I think it belongs in D.
I'll move him to D, but just because who's left here, I could see some more arguments down the road where I'm like, I feel a little more sure about my arguments.
You looked at the SERP and were thinking F, weren't you?
Maybe. Up next,
We'll find it.
everybody loves it. I love it. You love it. We all love it. The Wotan. The Wotan. I've heard it both ways.
It's Wotan. God, the people who call it wonton piss me off.
Wonton soup. Here comes the wonton mech.
Wonton mech.
It's useful. I hate that it's a glass cannon. I hate that like it's very squishy. I think it's an A.
I would have settled for either A or S, so I will go with A.
Wotan to the A. Oh, where'd he go? Oh no, not an F. He's not an F. Get out of there.
Wow.
Wow.
Clearly you have no taste.
That was the argument I was ready to make. You know, I called the trash can my favorite mech, but everybody remembers their first. Grimby was my first.
This is the garbage bin.
This is the recycling bin. Grimby gang for life.
So sexy.
I've got it.
So tanky.
I still
Tears infantry apart.
pink Grimby, make it happen, King Art Games.
That way it can't be S tier because we don't have a pink Grimby.
Yeah, it can't until it's pink. We can't have an S tier. But no, it's very good against infantry. Like your opponent has to either like go grab the AT gun or build into gunners. Which when gunners were moved to tier 2 in the barracks, I was like, oh, Grimby's about to run fucking wild.
I mean, and he got an extra 100 health for some reason.
He needed
and
it.
Just tears infantry apart. He beats gunners. He beats heroes. He beats fucking.
Now I want to go play some Grimby.
All of the ass.
I want to put Grimby in S. I really do.
Is he as good as a Schmowley and a Narco?
But he serves his purpose. He's fighting infantry. He's fighting off just about any infantry.
So good.
He does his job amazingly.
Yeah, S or A.
His vet ability sucks. His vet ability sucks so bad.
His ability's great.
No, it's just like Terminator 2, just like swiping, and it doesn't do as much damage as I wanted it to.
Anything, and it's not about damage. It's an instant suppression on anything in front of him.
Well, that makes it better then. I don't use Grimby anymore, but I need to start using him again.
Boo this man.
But he's an S tier. He's an S tier mech, damn it.
Say either S or A.
I could
put him with the Wotan.
I could see. Well, first of all, Wotan and Grimby are my favorite duo to travel together because you never see it, and I just think that's I'm shipping them right. I'm shipping them right now, but I see him being an S. He's just so good.
Where does the Grimby belong? S or A?
F tier.
Oh,
A it is.
all right. We'll move him down to A.
Okay, Steve.
Steve. Oh my God.
The most overhyped unit in the game.
Give this fucking mech a vet ability.
Have a vet ability. It explodes.
Back when you could send out Brunhilde and 2 of them, loved it. The old dick and balls trick. Send them out together and set them up to look like a dick and balls. It was an automatic win condition. It was like getting Exodia out. I loved it on Urban Paradise. Just set up on one of the VPs, you were golden, pony boy, fucking golden. I I think it's a.
B.
You say B as in boy?
B is in B. I think, especially with the like. Personally, I think the sheep sucks. I hate the sheep. I think it's garbage.
I think it's a C. I think it's C as in cat.
Why?
Air units.
I put it down to B because of it.
You put it down to B because of air units?
But the fact that it doesn't have a vet ability, I'll agree with C.
Yeah, give him a vet ability. He's got that little hole in the middle of him. Have him shoot something up. Have him shoot up a rocket or a homing missile.
B tier if he had a vet.
B tier if he had a vet. I can agree on that. Next up is My Name is Earl.
The biggest dick mech on the field.
Got the big dick energy, longest range of all the artillery. If you can Photoshop a mustache on him and he looks like a person. I've done it before. His vet ability, the flare, kind of leaves something to be desired.
A?
B as in boy?
What other B's do you use?
I thought you wanted to put him in D, you sick criminal.
No, he's better than a Mockney. He is the best artillery mech in the game for being artillery.
And setting him up like in the back corner of your little spot over the two VPs on tracks is one of my favorite things in the world. Next up is the Izagrim. Izzy. Love his smoke ability. Love that he's a smoker. I know smoking's bad for you, but I just can't help it. I like the bad boys. Izagrim's thing is he can't do it alone.
So expensive.
And you get after me every time I build one. You get after me every time I build one after sending out Brunhilde. You're like, why'd you build that? Like, because I wanted to.
Like, why? You're like, oh, because he looks cool. That's your entire argument.
But he looks so cool. He's like somebody started to build a Wotan and then they're like, just fuck it. What's this one got 4 legs? Send it out. God damn. I think his smoke ability is like one of the most useful abilities for Saxony, especially with like if someone's trying to come in and let's say he's on the back line for some reason. I mean, I wouldn't say he's not your home run hitter. I'd say
I think his damage leaves a lot to be desired.
He's the bunter. He comes in and he bunts and he gets somebody on base. He gets runners in the scoring position, so I'd put him at like a C.
Yeah, me too. If only I put the bad boy next to the Steve Motor.
Bad boy. What are you doing, Steve Motor? Skybike F.
Yep.
Let's see here. We have
Victor.
Yes, his name is Victor. He has no other name. His name is Victor Popov.
Definitely Victor.
It's definitely Victor. Spoiler alert. I don't know. I don't really use Victor much. If I'm going Rushviet, I'm like Olga or Zubov. I don't really ever consider Victor.
I don't think the Rushviets would forgive us if we ever put Zubov above Victor.
What are you doing?
Also, look at this curve we've got going.
Look at this curvy little tier list.
Just pretend the Serp and Victor doesn't exist.
No, we have to mess up the curve.
I would say B. He's got really good abilities. Semi-decent regular attack A, but it feels like he sits in C now. But that's also because I hate using him when I can use Zubov.
I'd give him a B. I mean,
Zubov is more fun than Victor.
I agree. First of all,
but Victor does work.
Victor does work. He has the best voice lines of any heroes. He showed Anna how to shoot. Spoiler alerts.
He speaks flawless Russian for a blind.
Flawless Russian. Yeah, his abilities are good. Yeah, I don't really have any arguments against him. It's just the fact that I don't use him. He's not my first go-to where I'm like, yeah, Victor. So I can see him in B, which messes up our curve. But
now where? No, B keeps the curve.
Keeps the curve. Serp.
Sort of.
This is the mech. Anyone who sees it, anyone who's not aware of Iron Harvest, is probably like one of the first mechs you've seen. He's the face. He's the face of the franchise. Face him and the Schmally, face of the franchise. He didn't get the splash page for Rushviet. They gave that to the Ghoulier. That really hurt him.
I would put him in S tier.
Did you just say S tier?
Yes, S for sucker. S for
No.
Stiefmutter.
S for
Put it in
Stiefmutter.
S and look at it.
It's a lot of Rushfiat.
No, look at that curve.
That would help our curve.
It's so symmetrical.
But if we put them there, it's just, we're clickbaiting. We're clickbaiting. Oh no.
It's such a lie.
We're clickbaiting. Where did they rank SERP? You won't believe where they put the SERP. Oh no! And then it's just the thumbnail.
Conveniently put it last.
The thumbnail is like someone holding their head like, what did he do? Oh no!
And it's just covering up the set picture.
Well, first of all, its ability is dumb. It claps its hands, and then everyone else claps their hands, and they do the hokey pokey.
And you turn around. Imagine if it forced a retreat, so they literally turned around.
That's what I wish it did. That would be the cool. Like
That's
it's
what
kind
it's
of
all about.
That's kind of a scary thing.
It's
But-
only for infantry.
Yeah, but yeah, people hear that and they're like, I don't want another unit having control over my units. Buh.
I would put him in D tier.
I agree. I think, yeah, I mean, he's cool looking. He's one of my favorite looking mechs. He's just kind of just there though. He's the guy at the party. Like everyone's like, why is he here? And then you're like, I don't know. He just showed up with the Ghoulier.
He's so expensive too, and he's the same pop cap as a Ghoulier. They're both 6.
Did he got a health buff, didn't he?
He went from 1,000 to 1,400.
Didn't really change much though, did it? I'd almost argue F tier, because it could be so much better. The foundation is there. It's just been raining, and they just haven't been able to build on the foundation.
I could agree with F tier.
Just because he's the face of the franchise.
As a unit, it's F tier.
Oh, look at that tier list. 2 hours later.
Now, here's the question. Should we do a real quick if the units, put the busted units back in?
Oh, you mean like the broken stuff?
Yeah, and William.
Okay. All right, so Salem, Salem would be S tier then, right?
All of them would be S.
Boom. 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 We're not getting a curve on that. We're not getting a curve on this test, guys. Sorry, Serpent Skybike.
And arguably, with it like that, you'd want to push things like the Kaiser down.
Kaiser down.
Because
Ghoulier
and
down.
probably the Ghoulier, maybe even the Narco. Because with such alternatives, you know, why would you ever?
Right. Trying to see who else would be pushed down. Well, obviously this guy get pushed down. The Prince.
I mean, you really hate the Prince.
I just know he could be so much better.
Would you agree that is currently how Iron Harvest is?
So yeah, if you take Broken out, this is where we're at. This is where we're at right now. Schmally, Salem, Gunship, William are running the show. In the A tier, we got Nako, Ghoulier, Kaiser, Georgie, Golikol, Brunhilde, Votan, Grimbart, Grimby Gang. B tier, you got the Stark, the Tur, the Strasnik. Saying all these one after the other is tough. Monkey Boy, Zuf, Revere, Zubov, the Erlkönig, and Victor. C tier addicts, Nox, Negan, Samson, Stiefmutter, what are you doing? And Isagrim. D tier, Airlift, Makni, Lafsa, Agnivo. And then F, these people didn't study at all. Skybike, Serp, Wilhelm.
That's a real test of your knowledge of the units in the game.
My brain, I got through A tier and I was like, oh no, B tier is even longer. Oh no. That was fun, Vaughn. I'll save this one too.
My brain's melting.